Now, if you are if you are planning to be a monk, there are certain things that we have to address and you have to learn. Um, so, ensuring that when you decided to be a monk, then you have to learn some of the basic customs and a way of a monk's life. How things happens and what are the customs, like not touching their heads, anyone's head, and not walking mindlessly and brushing others' body, um, and then always keep the seniority. Um, and then most importantly, understanding the difference between a monastic life and a lay life. That's very important. Um, and one of the a significant difference that we see is a robe itself. So we have to learn to wear this robe, how to wear it. And there are certain things that uh, strictly learn to refrain, and then there are certain things that we have to practice. And that's also it is also known as the anusaya. So, which is basically there are 4 supporting practices and then 4 restrictions that so-called akaraniya. We have to follow that. Now, when we talk about the 4 supporting activities or requisites, which once you have decided to become a novice or a monk, that monk depends depends on these 4 things. So that is called the nisaya. Yeah, nisaya basically means you are dependent on. Dependent on. So the 4 things are there. And number 1 is always appreciating the food that you are given, so-called pindapata. And normally in ancient time you will go out to collect the food, and obviously in Thailand and some part of in Sri Lanka and in Myanmar still practicing like that. So you basically go out on the street early morning to collect the food. And then collecting that food and you're bringing to the temple and eat it during the lunchtime. But nowadays, this is not the case for majority of monks, especially when once you become a monk. Many temples, you don't have to go out and begging food. There will be a canteen that you just go and participate and eat. Nevertheless, we have to train to appreciate that these foods have been offered to us. And that food is offered to us because we are living so-called noble life, dependent on others' offering. And then when we are dependent on others' offering, we are appreciating how kindly they have brought this food to us. And then we are not taking it to beautify, we are not taking it to exhibit our strength, but to maintain this physical body so that we can pursue towards the practice of the Dhamma. Okay? So this is the first thing. It's called a dependent on others' food. So whenever we are eating, we got to be very mindful of food. Do not take it as a privilege. And then the second, again nowadays, the second practice is not that widely practiced, but again, understanding that the robe, the second one is called a pangsakulika, or wearing a robes. And the wearing a robes, again, rather than waiting for someone to offer a robe, you go to the charnel ground and collect the pieces of a cloth and then make it a robe. Now, this is not a practical, and yet, but when we reflect on that this robe has been offered by one devotee, a devotees, or a devotees came to offer, and you take it as a symbol of a noble ones, whoever have walked on this path with this robe on, have attained the noblehood. I remember a couple of years ago, there was one monk who came to stay in a temple, and having seen new robes in our center, which is freely available, now he wasn't washing his robes. He was constantly using a new robes. Just opening a new set of a robe, and he was using the new set of robes. I didn't know until he left the temple, and then I realized there was a pile of them. So 4 months, there were about 6 sets of robes he used.
How long do you think a robe lasts for? How long can you wear it for, Bhajan?
This one, it's
So
all
you've got to wash them daily, right?
not daily. You don't have to wash it daily. You can wash it once a week, or even less than once a week, these robes. Now this one, I received it 3 years ago.
Okay.
See, and still brand new. It has traveled to America.
Underneath, so you've got the underneath, tunic underneath.
Uh-huh.
So you've got like
Yeah, layers. These are gone. See, this one, just 2 years, it's gone. But this one is still there.
So that's just the cover.
Yeah. So this outer robe, this is the most important part.
Okay.
So it has traveled America for twice, and Thailand twice, Nepal once, Europe once. See, well-traveled robe. So this monk, he was using that, and then I was like, ooh, I was a bit, annoyed, because after they used it, they do not take it with them. They just leave it here, and we cannot use it.
So if
so-
somebody picks up the robe, Rajan, so the robe is individual to that individual person. Is that correct?
The first set of a robe is for the individual person to use. And there will be extra called atireka robes. That means the extra robes you can have. And that extra robe shouldn't be like piles of them. So it's just for the changing when you are washing it. But traditionally, you are allowed to have only 3 sets of a robe. One outer robe, this one, and then the extra, this layer, and then the skirt. So when we read the scripture, it says, when you are washing this cloth, this robe, outer robe, you use this as a robe. So you unfold and make it as a robe. And then when you are washing the skirt, you make this as a skirt. So that likewise, okay? Now, and then there was a question, there was a Pasendi Kosala, the king, he wanted to offer 500 sets of a robe to the monks during the time of the Buddha. And then he had little doubt that what are the monks going to do with the old robes? So this king went to ask a monk, Venerable Ananda, who was the attendant of the Buddha. Then he asked, what do you do with the old robes? And then this Venerable Ananda explained beautifully. He said that we do not throw it away. We use it until you cannot wear it anymore. So you repair it again and again, then you cannot repair it anymore, then use it as a doormat. No, sorry, before doormat, you use it as a washing, cleaning.
So just
Surface wipes. And then after that, doormat. And then after doormat, then use it to mix with the clay and make a wall. Recycling this entire robe. Yeah. And then the Pasendi Kosala, the king of a Pasendi Kosala country that time, was so impressed by the explanation the Venerable Ananda gave to him. And he rejoiced the offering of this robe without feeling any doubts on his offering. Right? So that's why we got to be very mindful of wearing these robes and considering that why we are wearing it. Now, if we look at the textile companies producing these cloths, they spend a lot of water, they spend a lot of natural resources. And then we use it only once and throw it away. Then it's like we are not concerned of the natural resources at all, using it mindlessly, because again, robes you don't have to buy. It's been offered and you can find plenty in the temples. So we got to be very gratitude and not mindlessly using it. So that's the second supporting factor to be the real practitioner and practicing the monastic life. And then the third one is dwelling seclusion. So train yourself to live alone without seeking the company of any other people, other monks. Now, there is a special advice given that once you become a monk, try to disassociate with other fellow monks simply to talk. If you are going to associate with other monks, then think about talking the Dhamma. Think about something more fruitful for your development or cultivation of the Dhamma, rather than talking about, so there are a few things. Number one, if I remember all, I won't be able to remember all. So number one, do not talk about the politics. That's the first thing. Do not talk about the thief. Do not talk about superstitions. Do not talk about husband and a wife's quarrels. Do not talk about matchmaking. Do not talk about how much I gain from going to Pindapata on that street, and how much you got from walking onto that street, not like that. So rather than that, one has to train to live alone, and that living alone is simply to practice the Dhamma. So there is an instruction, read the Dhamma or practice the Dhamma. And then use the time wisely as much as possible. So that is the third one, that learn to live alone, but not left alone. Learn to live alone but not left alone. So mentally we got to be very fit to adapt all other situations. There is in a psychology, there is a saying that a man who walks alone is not lonely. He has walked so long that he has kept himself alone. So that basically means he had gone through so many troubles. So now he is walking alone but not lonely. So he has full confidence. So it's like there another saying, the older I became, the wiser I become. Like that. So as a monk, we have to learn to live alone, to learn the Dhamma, and then to practice the Dhamma. So that is the another thing that we have to practice. But nowadays, because of the social media, oftentimes we are good at living alone, but not alone. Surfing on social media without knowing the time is up now, like that. So, but anyway, the third one that we have to be very mindful, that do not seek a company but live alone, and that living alone doesn't mean just live alone doing nothing. Read the book, practice the Dhamma. So that's the third one. And then the fourth one, now this fourth one is basically mindfully using medicines. And now from the scripture, like use the herbal medicines using your own urine to ferment the herbal medicines. And which is in the past, not now anymore. But when I was a student, when we were studying these things, and then I wanted to test urine. How does it look like? Have you tried your own urine?
Tasted a few things, but I've never tasted that.
So we were told to test. So I did test. And then we also fermented with our own urine, fermenting the roots and then using it as a medicine for certain things. But after I have done it, I would not suggest you to do it anymore, because the pharmaceutical company has developed so much that we can rely on modern medicines. Well, having said that, doesn't mean that we can't use some medicines, but we got to be very mindful of that. But again, having said that, doesn't mean that even just the slightest things happened and then you just look for the medicine and then try to find ways to get onto the different medicines. Like there was a monk, a young monk. He was a monk for about just 6 years, and he was with us. And he was so concerned about his health, always thinking about this medicine, thinking about that medicine, and then even just the slightest changes due to the weather, he just complains, or he goes on that, oh, I'm feeling unwell. So it's like an excuse after excuse not to do anything. And that is not a monastic life. So we got to be very mindful, and then ability to endure certain pains and ailments, and that we have to face. And in the meantime, doesn't mean that you're not seeking a help, a medical help. So you have to check that medical help too. Like there was a Japanese monk. He was going through a bladder pain for a long time, and he thought that it was just his pain, so he didn't go to see the doctor. And then one day, one of the students who was a senior surgeon came and then asked him, what happened? And he explained, oh, you got a bladder problem, so better go and check. So after he went to check, and then after the surgery, so he got a new life. So like that. So we do have to seek a medical help, but having said that doesn't mean that any little things you just move on to think about this and then excuse after excuse. Similar, there was one senior monk staying with me here, and during that time he had quite a few illnesses, as he told, like diabetes, blood pressure, cholesterol, and then he was taking supplements. Having seen those different illnesses that he was going through and taking the supplements, I suggested him not to eat fatty foods, not to eat the fried ones, and then walk. Now, my suggestion, he took it wrongly, and it become kind of destroying me. So he spread the word that I am very stingy, that I did not allow him to eat these fried chickens and fried porks or anyway, any delicious food that he likes, normally fried and fatty foods. And not only that, when he left, he even spread the rumor saying that, oh, Sujan is very stingy and he do not look after monks, like that. So this is not the way. As a monk, we got to be very careful of what we eat as well. Conscious of eating and conscious of illnesses that we are going through and mindfully dealing with that. So these are the 4 supporting factors that we got to be mindful of if we have decided to be a monk, and may not be in an extreme practice as it was or as it used to be, but at least when we are using, when we become a monk, when these 4 things, if we have carefully practiced, then it will help us to grow in the path and then leading towards the real happiness later on. So I thought that I give you this information just to help you to brush up your desire to be a monk. And there are still time that you can decide not to be a monk. So these are called nisai or nisaya, so supporting 4 factors. So next time I will explain other 4 things that we should restrict. So for today I end here of explaining. So these are the 4 factors, supporting factors. Right, so in this case, now we will chant the Karaniya Metta Sutta, just to follow after the evening chanting.